Now that I've finished in the living room, I'm going to start an entryway that's going to look like getting all of this stuff cleared out, getting all the scraps of floor from this piece cleared out, getting this floor completely clean, and getting the other roll of this flooring that I have in my car into the house, rolled out, trimmed, and put all into place. So that's what I'm going to be doing here shortly, and it's more work than it looks like. So I have gotten everything cleared out of the entryway. I have both swept and vacuumed. This is bare subfloor, so I'm not going to mop or anything like that. This Kilz is from me. It's pretty recent. I thought that this section by the door was dry when I put the mat back down, but took several chunks out of my doormat, so obviously it was not dry in those little spots. So I'm going to use my razor blade to scrape those up before I put the floor down. But after that, it'll be time to bring the rolling of floor in, go ahead and lay it down. I'll have to, cut around these certain areas to be sure that it fits properly. The other thing is here, I know you can't really tell, but the subfloor here is actually higher than down here. So I'll have to get a special type of trim to go here that kind of evens that out. So that's not something that I have right now. Once the flooring is down here, I'll be able to kind of measure this and have a better idea of the piece that I need, and then I can kind of source that for myself. All right, so I got those spots scraped up. They are discolored now, but I'm just gonna leave that since they're just a couple small spots. I'm gonna go ahead and get the flooring opened and unrolled, and then I'll show you what I'm working with from there. Okay, so the floor is laid out. I was hoping that this would be able to go this way to more have the pattern the same direction, but it would be really hard to line it up perfectly. It might look more weird that way. And in addition, there is going to be a trim piece here, teak. I'm going to probably have to make that myself. So I'm not too concerned about the fact that the pattern's going the other way. There is going to be a piece to break it up. This is really good quality flooring, so I'm just glad to have that. Again, not maybe super ideal, but I think it's the best option. And also this won't fit this way. It's too small. So we're going to go ahead and lay it out like this. I did it this direction because, at least for me, and I haven't done this a ton, I'm by no means an expert in really anything involving any of this, but I have found in other spaces that if you can get it as flat as possible to start, or have these indentations to hold it in place while you roll it out, it's a lot easier than doing something like this side where I have to cut all the way around this. I have to deal with this thing. Like, dealing with all this situation at the end of the roll is going to be easier for me personally than starting on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this side. So the first thing I need to do is measure how far I need to cut down and then how far I need to cut out here. So that's going to be my first move, is to measure that indent so that I'm sure when I cut it, it's the right cut. Now there is going to be some kind of trim around here, maybe like quarter round, or potentially a little bit more than that if I don't do it well. But either way, the edges are going to be covered up, so that'll be fine. I do want a nice tight fit, and you can see the wall is just about 1/8 of an inch less than 4 inches. But I am going to go ahead and cut it to 4 inches just so there's enough space that the flooring can lay completely flat and not be obstructed by anything. So I'm gonna measure 4 inches on the floor, and then I'll measure where this corner butts up on the floor, and I'll cut down 4 inches to whatever this width ends up being here. I went ahead and measured my 4 inches. So now I just need to cut right on this side of this line. Is that right? Yeah, that's correct. And then this square basically to this length will get cut off. But I'm just gonna get this piece cut first before I deal with the rest of this, because I need to see how it lays here before I start like marking it and deciding where it needs to be cut. I want this piece laid down into this area first, and then that'll give me a better idea what I need to do with this. I mean, this block here is going to have to be cut probably that far, but I just want to see this laying down first before I start messing around with that. All right, so this is obviously overlapping. This whole thing is gonna get trimmed, but I'm gonna wait until the rest of it is done and then trim this edge off. Obviously, there's a bit of a gap here. Again, that's where the trim's gonna go. So that's not gonna cause any real issue. Over here, we actually have a little too much, which if anything, that is best case scenario. So that's gonna get trimmed at the end as well. I also went ahead and got both of those flaps out. So the floor is in on one side. So the next step now is to take this all back off. It's not sealed in or connected or anything. Pull it off. I'm going to move this whole floor. This span is 3 feet. So I need to roll this out to 3 feet. And then I'll need to cut my next line to go around this wall. I think it's 3 feet by 3 feet, but I'm going to remeasure this distance. But this distance is 3 feet. Okay, so my 3 foot measurement starts right at the edge of that cut, which is that part of the wall right there. Basically the inside of this door jamb. So we follow that down. We've got our 3 foot mark. And that is where we put our dot. And I remeasured this. It's actually 34 inches, so almost 3 feet, but enough that it would have messed it up if I had gone to 3 feet. So now what we do is put this on the edge. We make sure that we can see our dot right here. And then we go and we put a dot at 34 inches. I can't hold this and make the line, but I'll show you once it's done. So there's my line. I'm going to cut it just on the inside of that line because that is where it'll butt up to the wall. So we don't want the line visible. That being said, it really wouldn't be visible either way because again, there's going to be trim to cover the edges. So also you can see it got a little off here. That doesn't matter because it's going to be covered and it's not going to be off enough that the trim won't cover it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. This material is easy and very forgiving. So highly recommend, especially if you just don't have a lot of experience, but you really need new floors. This is the way to go. It's not super cheap, I will say, but it's not like the most expensive either. And there are tiers of this type of flooring, so you can find one that fits your budget. So I've made the first pass with my knife, and as you can see, it's still, this particular flooring has the nice felt backing. And so I have to go through it again to go through the felt all the way. So I'll go ahead and do that and then show you. So now I've got that whole measurement cut, and then what I need to do is measure across, and then down here I need to take out for that wall. So I'll have to do this cut again at whatever width this is. That ended up being 7 inches. So I measured 7 inches and I've got my flap. So what I'm gonna do next is fit all of this back in, make sure that it fits well. I'll make any adjustments that I need to make for this section, and then I'll measure for that bump out over there. So this is where it gets tricky because this area here does not go as far back as this area over here, which is stopping this from being able to get all of these back in the exact right spot. So what I'm going to need to do is pull all this back out, figure out how much I need to cut off in the back so that this can move forward. And basically so I've got the rest of the notches cut out and everything laid down. Not surprisingly, not everything is square, both my cuts and also probably the house itself. So there's some extra back in that corner. It's kind of hard to tell, but you can kind of see the ripple there. So I'm just gonna have to go ahead and make some additional little cuts on that edge, and then I'll go ahead and clean up these edges over here, and then I'll cut this edge off at the spot where it's actually supposed to be. You can see it overlaps quite a bit. So basically from here over needs to be cut off. All right, I've got all my edges trimmed. Everything is fitted in. Just a reminder, once I have trim for here, this piece will be cut off and there'll be a trim piece. But for now, I've decided to leave it long so that none of the edges get messed up before I have that trim piece in place. But everything, there's kind of a weird shadow right here, but this all fits now. And then, you know, there'll still be a trim piece over the very edge. But everything fits really well. I have my shoe spot back together. I am eventually going to get like a shoe rack situation in there, like a multi-shelf probably, but it's messy in there right now. But for now, the floor is in and everything's good there. Next week, I'm going to be tackling this hallway. As you can see, it's absolutely filthy from all the previous owner's dogs, and this just goes down into the basement. So I'm going to be getting these walls scrubbed and then painted with Kilz all the way around. And I'll get the stairs painted with Kilz as well as swept and mopped. Well, it's bare wood. I don't know if I'll be mopping that, but I will be cleaning it up. And then everything will get painted in Kilz. And then all the walls will get painted with the same white paint that's over here in the living room as well. I know it doesn't look white on this wall. It looks like it's a weird blue-gray, but it's actually white. It's just the lighting is a little odd. The other project I have going for next week is to get this pantry cleared out. All this stuff is from the previous owner. So I'm gonna get all of this cleared out, move this, hopefully sell that, and get this whole pantryway set up for real pantry use. The door for the pantryway, I have that, so I can get that set up again so that it has a door that closes. But that's going to be what I start working on next week as well. Back to this again.